Hey, no driving gloves. Another
That was
Thursday
a
night.
that was a pretty cool new intro graphic there. The
Actually,
back
we
and the speedo. I don't know that they were actually matching up though. Look at that. Look at that. Half a tank of gas.
amp meter right in the middle.
Yeah. That's pretty fancy.
Yes. So, no driving gloves. We're giving it a shot tonight. Um, Thursday night, 9 o'clock recording time. Hopefully, you'll be hearing this tomorrow morning audio. If the producer here gets his act together, probably not.
Hmm.
You probably have to wait till Monday for audio. But if you're listening to this audio, you know when you got it. So, hey,
Exactly. And who knows? You might not listen to it for like 4 days after you download it and it comes out. So, eh.
I think Derek and I have a multitude of topics tonight. We're going to bounce around to a couple of things. We're going to talk VIN numbers. We're going to talk the idiots and how they write car ads.
Ooh, and we can
Uh,
connect those two together.
yes, and of course, I've
Oh.
got my little probably sub things. Um, that's not. Um, this Florida family. Have you heard this Florida family? It's whining and crying because they have a Fusion, I think it is, hybrid or electric Fusion or something, some electric Ford. And they're bitching that the battery costs like $18,000 and it's not available, and wine, or maybe $14,000 and the battery's not available. Wine. Um, Number one, you can buy used batteries. I've got a friend who has a Prius and he's bought three different rebuilt batteries for it over the time he's owned it, which is a multitude of years. A lot less than the retail from Toyota. I think he's paying $2,000 or $3,000 for a battery pack. So there's that
Okay.
alternative.
So, but I'm going to throw in there because I don't know the answer to this. My question to that would be, is there something in the warranty of the Fusion that says it has to be replaced with a new battery? And
Um,
by your dealership,
no, it's not a war. If it's warranty, actually, electric cars are guaranteed. The batteries by federal law are warranted for 8 years. This happens to be a. Let's see here. She paid $11,000 for a Ford Focus electric car, 2014 model. So that doesn't make sense. So it's probably just outside of that 8 years.
it's just out. Yep.
Had the car for 6 months before it began giving her issues and flashing symbols, and now the battery's shot. She has to replace the battery. Supposedly Ford doesn't make the battery for it anymore, which again, you only have to make parts for a car for 8 years. So it's 8-year-old car. But there are rebuilt things available. And since I'm reading the article to you, problem is the battery costs $14,000.
For a brand
What?
new one. Well, if there's no brand new ones available, is that 14,000 for a rebuilt?
No, I'm assuming that's $14,000 price in the Ford catalog because the part number probably still exists and you can look it up.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Okay. A couple of months back, a certain person tried to do his best risky business impersonation and submerged his German car. $18,000, and a month later, he got his car back. All it was a motor. I'm upset.
Mm-hmm.
My internal combustion engine car motor almost cost as much as the car. If I would have a car that was 3 years older, the motor would have cost as much as the value of the car. What the heck is the difference? The battery is effectively the heart of an electric car.
Mm-hmm.
So $14,000. Who's the editor of Motor Trend? Johnny Lieberman. He had a Ford Focus. I believe it was an RS. Motor blew up on him, and he was quoted something like $14,000 or $16,000 from what he said on his podcast about to have the motor replaced in his Ford Focus. So I don't see what the whine is. You have an old car, it broke. It's 14 grand.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like replacing your motor. So quit whining, buckle down, maybe think ahead. Maybe go, well, let's see here. I got a car. It's $11,000. It's 8 years old. It's electric.
Well, it's not even. It part of it is thinking ahead, John, but part of it is doing your research.
Yes.
If you're going to buy an electric vehicle, especially a used electric vehicle, do your research on. It's just like buying any internal combustion vehicle that's used, right? It's the same thing. You want to look at what have been the known issues with the car? Has it had major engine issues? Are there a bunch of technical bulletins and recalls and anything like that? Technical TSBs, technical service bulletins. You do all that research when you go to buy a used internal combustion engine powered car, right? Do the same thing with an electric car. You're gonna find out that the batteries cost a lot of money to replace, just like an engine costs a lot of money to replace in a car. As you say, it's effectively the same component, right? It's either the internal combustion engine that's powering the vehicle, or it's a battery that is powering a vehicle. And it's about doing your research and understanding what you're getting yourself into.
Then, like I say, exactly. I think it's people are dealing with. They remember, get a Jasper engine for $3,000, put it in your car. And so, but it's just.
Well, I mean, you can still do that. Just buy an old enough vehicle to be able to do that.
Yeah. I just hate these articles that are so slanted against electric vehicles. Not that I'm saying they're the end all, solve all, everything, except Berkshire Hathaway may have actually made a big leap in that. I don't know if we want to talk about that. I've only heard some brief snippets of that.
I was going to say, evidently you heard something I haven't, because I haven't heard anything about Berkshire Hathaway.
There is a dry lake bed in California. It's massive. I mean, thousands of acres that Berkshire owns. Let me see if I can figure out the name of it.
I'm trying to think of which, because there's El Mirage, but I don't think that's private.
Salton Sea.
Oh, Salton Sea.
Yeah. Berkshire Hathaway.
I didn't realize Berkshire Hathaway on that.
Well, Warren Buffett. What do you know?
Well,
Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway is one of the prospectors in the California Lithium Valley. Let's see here. Fast forward 174 years from the start of the gold rush to now. I guess here. It's not saying. But basically, Berkshire has the Salton Sea. And, of course, San Andreas Fault goes through it. And they've been getting certain things out of it. But what they've now done is they think they have figured out a way to extract the lithium that is in the Salton Sea environmentally safe. And they claim there is enough lithium in there to meet any level of demand in the foreseeable future. So all of a sudden, now we have an American place to produce our lithium. Supposedly, we can mine it safely. Like I say, I haven't dug deep into this. I don't want to make this an electric car show, but that was a neat little thing that I did hear. And I read this morning when it comes to that. Let me see if I can find out that it has not officially passed, but let's see here. Generally, $7,500 tax credits on electric vehicles are going to come back. It doesn't matter how many cars they sold. Tesla and GM right now, you can't get your $7,500 because they've sold too many cars. Ford and Nissan are going to surpass their cap number, but it looks like, and I'm reading this secondhand. Cars will need to be less than 55 grand. Trucks and SUVs and vans need to be under 80 grand. Your income needs to be under 150 individual or 300 joint, just kind of what they normally say. Could be retroactive to the first of this year. So $7,500 to buy an electric car again, or discount it. Supposedly the discount, instead of waiting to taxes, could be immediate. They're talking about a $4,000 tax credit on used electric vehicles sold, electric cars sold for under 25K or 30% of the sale price, whichever's lower. They must be sold through a dealer, and one resale credit for the life of the vehicle, and the income limits are half, 75 and 150. And you can only take one credit in a 3-year period. So looks like the government's gonna, I don't know, is that, I'm not gonna get in politics, but the government's gonna throw that $7,500 in there. And then the person that I was reading this from posed the question: the Tesla Model Y is priced above 55K, and the government's saying that that would not be covered under this $7,500 because it's too expensive. However, Tesla considers the Model Y to be an SUV. So maybe this is a topic for the future. What defines a car as an SUV?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Now, of course, the Model Y is built off the Model 3 platform. So the Model Y is just effectively a taller Model 3. So, but that was another thing that I came across my desk. So throw that one out there.
Intriguing. We'll save that for a later show.
Yep, we'll save that for a later show. We'll look into the Berkshire Hathaway thing. What's your bitch for the week, Derek?
We'll line up Warren Buffett.
Yeah, it's not unheard of. I'm like two people separated from Warren.
I mean, if we can't get Warren, maybe we can get Jimmy. I mean, he can just he likes the sea, so he could probably talk about the Salton Sea, right?
I'm not a big Jimmy fan, but
well, that's unfortunate. So what is my gripe of the week? What's really grinding my gears? What do I want to complain about? That what you're asking me?
Yeah, and believe it or not, what I just talked about with the electric car battery replacement is not mine.
Well, there you go. So mine is the major issue that I think we seem to be having in this country of people crossing the yellow line.
Ooh, well, you can swing back to the Randy Post episode discussing that.
I wasn't on that episode, so I do apologize if we've already discussed it, but it's just getting really annoying when you're on a straightaway, clear road and the person coming at you, oh, come on, Toby, you took my, that was going to be my big, epic moment of the show tonight. Anyway, Toby's in our comments, but seeing the audio listeners can't see that. Yes, it just makes me want to yell over the line, Smokey, because it just drives me nuts. Like, if you can see someone coming at you, and I get that people are probably on their phone or doing something they shouldn't be doing, hence the reason they're all over the road coming across the yellow line. But it's just ridiculous how many times. I mean, it is at least once on my commute both ways, morning and night, that I deal with this, and it's just ridiculous. And especially if you're, I mean, it's really bad on a straightaway where you can see if people are coming or not. If you wind up doing that and people are coming at you, don't do it around a blind turn either. You know, if you're coming into a curve and it's a blind curve, don't cut the curve. like you're, a race car driver looking for the straight line and apex to come out of the turn and get your speed up, because there's bound to be someone on the other side. If you can see that there's nobody around, nobody coming at you, so on and so forth, you cut a little bit over the yellow line, you're not going to hurt anybody, that's fine. But come on, people, let's get our acts together and do what we're supposed to do and keep it between the lines, because it's just, it's getting absurd. And I still think, I said it on one of the shows before, I think we were talking about Tail of the Dragon. I think there should be a race series on places like the Tail of the Dragon, where it's not about how fast you can get down, not about how, you can, but it should be about whether or not you can keep it between the lines going down the road. There should be a whole series dedicated to it on twisty, windy roads. How well can you do without touching or crossing the lines?
Yeah, Randy was on episode 127. It was me and Sean Yoder who interviewed him. And somehow we got it talking exactly about that in Tail of the Dragon and crossing the center line. And I don't know if I brought it up in that episode or a later episode. I find it interesting that as car people, we want to find the twistiest, curviest road we can and then figure out how to drive it as straight as possible. Isn't the challenge the corners? And I totally agree with you. The challenge is to go down that road as fast as you can legally and stay in between the lines. And it's just, like I said, I don't understand why people do it. Yeah, boy, I feel like, Michael Schumacher or Ayrton Senna, or I don't even know who the hell's current in Formula One, but I don't even know who the hell's current in NASCAR. But yeah, Derek, I'll agree with you. Keep it between the lines. It's simple enough.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like Toby's comment here on the live video stream is like the Operation game, but with cars. Yes, exactly.
It'd be kind of cool.
Actually, you could probably start programming it, because now they've got the I'm going to call it, for lack of a better term, because we're talking about games, video games, stuff like that. A lot of the cars now on the backup sensor have the rumble pack in the seat. You remember, like PlayStation, you had your PlayStation had the rumble pack in the controller, and now a lot of the new cars in the butt of the seat, they've got the rumble pack that when you get too close to something when backing up, it vibrates the seat. You should do that when you cross the line.
That's what I want to say. Part of some cars lane keeping or lane guidance system rumbles the seat. Yeah, you're right. We should step it up.
Do they rumble the seat on lane guidance?
Some cars do.
I guess I haven't been in any of the cars that do that.
But all you've got to do is say, if the car is exceeding the speed limit, we just need it to a little wire in the steering wheel that shocks you when you go out of the lane. Be just like the Operation game. Exactly.
Just a nice little
yeah. Heavy insurance liabilities there.
I was going to say, what happens when you get the shock, though? Oh, God.
And what I got, and we've been talking about it briefly on the show for months, and I guess next week we're probably going to have to break down and do the full show on it. Car subscriptions.
Nah. Let's just keep dragging it out.
BMW is making massive headlines this week because some newspaper or magazine found that they're charging a subscription fee for heated seats in some countries, including South Korea. And I can't remember what the money is, $20 a month, give or take. And people are throwing a fit. Can people research this? Number one, it's not new. BMW's done it before. Other car companies are doing it. Not a surprise. People are saying, oh, so you're building a car with stuff that I have to pay for. If you look at some of these, and I have not looked at the South Korean BMW purchase agreement, but from what I've read from BMW, if you are the original purchaser of the car and you want heated seats, and say they decided to charge you $895 for that option, you pay $895 and you've got heated seats for the whole time you own the car. But say you buy the car and you live in Miami, you don't want heated seats, so you're not going to pay the $895. Year later, you get transferred to Montana. And unlike me, you probably keep your car more than a year. You go, hey, heated seats would be nice. Now BMW will give you the option. You can have it as a subscription for $20 a month, or give me $895 and you don't have to pay me again. And then when it goes to the next owner as a used car, they probably will give the same deal to them. $695 for life, or $18 a month, or whatever. It's a used car. I'm knocking it down. So get in, read it. I mean, subscriptions are coming. There's nothing we're going to do about it. Stellantis has said it's going to be a $25 billion part of their business by the end of this decade. So it's coming. Can't change it. Start reading up on it. Start reading the fine print, and let's quit bitching about, again, $14,000 batteries, $25 a month, until you read the whole thing. Just pisses me off.
Wait. You mean people should actually do research and know the whole story before they start complaining? Is that what you're trying to get at, John? Because I mean, that's just ludicrous. I mean, that is not the American way.
I'm 100% saying that, but it would be a simple solution. All you've got to do is listen to No Driving Gloves, and we're going to take care of you. You could ask the question in the comments, because we seem to be pretty well versed on car things. Go to nodrivinggloves.com, send us an email or a text, or let us know what your question is. We'll put a show together for you and answer the question. Should I buy an 8-year-old electric car? We can point out the highs and the lows of doing that, and maybe some alternative things to think about. But
I like to think of us as the Paul Harvey of the automotive podcast world.
I always liked Paul Harvey.
Yeah, I did too. The rest of the story.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're 22 minutes into the episode and we've touched on a multitude of pop-up subjects, Derek, what's the rest of the story on VIN numbers?
Yeah. Let me just go ahead and let me just go ahead.
Highlight the intro?
Let me just go ahead and pull that article up that we did some research on in the last week of preparing the show. Sorry, I think it started raining here. I heard some noise outside. So, the article that kind of got me down the path of this and a little irritated is from ClassicCars.com. And it's from the journal part of ClassicCars.com. So journal.classiccars.com. And it is the news about the fact that the new VIN statute took effect on July 22nd, 2022 in, oh gosh, I'm blanking. Was it Arizona? Yeah, Arizona. Partially thanks to the Barett-Jackson auctions. And this is the new statute in the state of Arizona that no longer makes it illegal to remove a VIN number from a vehicle while you're restoring it and restore the car and then put the VIN number back on the car. Now, as John, as you pointed out, there's some gray areas there. There's some, there's some ways to legally go about this. There are states where it is absolutely illegal, so on and so forth. And Barett-Jackson and others are hoping that by pushing this through, they can kind of get it across the board. Of course, if I recall correctly, I don't think there are any federal laws.
Actually, the article
Or I'm trying to remember. Is it that there is no federal law against removing the VIN number?
Yes, there is no federal law, but state
right,
law.
But all the states are taking precedent.
Yes.
And, coming from a restoration background and having vehicles that, actually, I should say only one of the vehicles that we own had the VIN number removed before we acquired the vehicle. I am not a fan of the idea of being able to remove a VIN number. And actually, it wasn't even a VIN number. It's on a car that is old enough. Of course, everyone knows that most of the cars my father and I own are too old to have VIN numbers. They just have simple serial numbers because they're before the VIN number laws and federal acts went into effect. But I'm not a fan of this because, yes, there are people out there that would be very, proper and honest and do the right thing in their restoration by removing a VIN simply to be able to take care of corrosion issues, something like that, whatever the issue may be that they're having, that they need to remove this thing and put it back on. But there are way too many people, and I think it outweighs the number of good people that are going to use this to have the ability to fake a car and change the VIN number and make it something that it never was. And of course, all in the name of money. So I'm not a huge fan of this idea.
I totally agree with you because most states do have a provision for this. Now, it's not necessarily the most convenient and easy. Kansas, which does get a compared or mentioned in this because of an unrelated, related thing, I guess, has a provision that you can remove the VIN number. However, you have to contact the state police. The state police have to come over. They remove the VIN number. They take the VIN tag with them, leave you a receipt. When you're ready to reinstall the VIN number, the state police bring the VIN number back and reinstall it on the car. So they have a provision. Now, part of what brought this to light was the gentleman who bought a Corvette in 2016 or 17 in Indiana, who lived in Kansas, brought it to Kansas. And I lived in Kansas for a while. When you bring a car in from out of state in Kansas, and you have to do it here in Alabama, but it's kind of funny with one of mine. You have to go and show, bring the car in. They've got to look at it, etc. And somebody noticed the VIN number did not have the proper rivets, so they impounded the car, and it's supposed to be destroyed. Well, Kansas is in the process of modifying their law, and for some reason, this Corvette still exists. Guy's owned it for 5 or 6 years, but can't touch it because it's still an impound. So there's some logic behind the Barett-Jackson law. It's also going to be interesting to find out. It's legal to do it in Arizona. Let's take Kansas, for instance. It's not legal to do it in Kansas. So I remove my VIN number in Arizona, or I do it in California, and then I ship the car to Barett-Jackson. Barett-Jackson sells it to me, and I live in Kansas. I take it to Kansas. Kansas looks at it and goes, "This VIN number has been removed. We're gonna crush your whatever 69 Chevelle SS that you just paid 180 grand for because the VIN number has been removed because our law doesn't permit it." So Barett-Jackson has made this legal for cars they sell at the Arizona auction, but they have not necessarily made it legal for you to own that car in another state.
Mm-hmm.
Toby said something here. I didn't read his whole comment. It's a slippery slope. It is. But Well, I was thinking that today. I'm a very black and white person, and that's the law. Know your laws. If you're collecting cars, know your laws. I don't know them for all 50 states. It would be nice, could always research it. I know in Alabama, when I move here, or I bring a car in from out of state, they're going to check it. They're going to look at the VIN number. Unless your car is on or in an enclosed trailer that it barely fits in, like a Caterham or Lotus 7 in a 6x12 enclosed trailer, and the inspector happens to be too large to get into the trailer and asks you to go in and read her the VIN number. Now,
or him.
Or him. I was kind of saying that's what happened to me. She could not get into the trailer to read the VIN number, so she had me read the VIN number. I could have made up anything. That car actually had 3 VIN numbers on it. It had the Caterham chassis number, it had a number from North Carolina, and it had a California number on it. California number was really important because when I sold the car, it went back to California, and because it had that California VIN number, made it a dream for the new owner to register. I think it added value to that Caterham.
And there's the problem is that, of course, for a long time, VIN numbers, serial numbers, whatever it was, were just kind of put wherever, on the car that the company decided to place them. And, early Corvettes, C1 Corvettes, have the VIN, or some C1s, not all C1s. Well, early C1s, it's simply a plate screwed on the driver's door, and then you move to having it riveted to the steering column tube. And it, especially on the steering column tube, they have been known to corrode and have a number of issues with them, not surviving terribly well. And the scary thing there is that if you, say, found a very significant Corvette in a junkyard from that era, and it was beyond restoration, correct? So, say the fiberglass was just absolutely destroyed. The frame was so rusted that it just wasn't worth it. The engine was missing or, blown to pieces at some point. But this was an extremely important Corvette, had a strong history. And say you looked under the hood and there was a, good portion, but not all of the, early serial number VIN tag that was on the steering tube, column tube, still there. Specifically, the last 6 digits. All you got to do is pop that off, go get another C1 Corvette of the same year, have a new tag created. You have what you say is the original remnants of the original tag that you took off for restoration and had a new one made because it was, so far badly corroded and so far gone. And you put that on this other car and, of course, change the numbers on the chassis and the other stampings where it's, consistent. Well, now you just created that extremely valuable car that's rotted to pieces in a junkyard because you were able to remove the VIN tag and create a new one and put it on a different car. That to me is a problem.
And a similar story that actually happened, I believe it was a Jaguar. It might have been an XK SS that was cut into quarters, right front quarter, left front quarter, right rear quarter, left rear quarter. And they proceeded to build a car around each quarter. Each quarter was original. So all of a sudden, there are now 4 original Jaguars. And it came to light that there were multiples of this Jaguar. And it did. So people will do this. What Jaguar ended up doing is determining that the VIN number that is stamped on the left or right shock tower, front shock tower, is what is required to be a Jaguar. So the other 3 weren't real Jaguars, even though they contained just as much original car as the one with the VIN number. But there had to be a decision made, and however that shakes out. But there are, I want to say nefarious, but that's not the right word. Though there are people out there
nefarious
that will do anything because, frankly, cars are valuable. I mean,
well,
people will shoot you over $5. Why wouldn't somebody fake a car over $50,000?
Oh, Lord, people have fake cars over less than that.
Yes.
But here's the thing also, and maybe I should do a little bit more. I should have done a little more research. I apologize to our listeners. I should have actually maybe read the House bill in its entirety. But in the article, it simply states that removing and reattaching the vehicle identification number, the VIN, during repairs or restoration is no longer against the law. So here's my question. If that's no longer against the law, and they're simply saying that it's the VIN number that can be removed and reattached, and you have a Jaguar that I believe you said it was left front, stamping in the shock tower part of the chassis is what determines which car that is. What keeps somebody from cutting that part of the car out and putting it on a different car now? Because that's still part of the VIN number. So it can be removed and replaced.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. This gets so shady. There are so many ways.
Early on in my restoration career, restored a 64 MGB, which was actually a 63. It was a really early production car. Is that how? No. Restored a 63 MGB. And the parts car we used was a 64 MGB. The VIN number on that 64 MGB was actually prior to the 63 MGB. Now, you have to understand, back in the 60s, especially with cars like that, they were titled for the year that they were sold, not necessarily the year they were built. So this early number car sold after, in 64, after this other semi-early number car did. There was discussion, and fortunately the shop and the owner were, what do you want to say, had some morals to them, because it very easily, this guy could have went from having a low thousands MGB to the 114th MGB ever made. Now, granted, it was 64 to 63, but at that point, it doesn't matter, because you're going to go, you sell it by the VIN number. This is the 114th MGB. And, geez, they all rusted out, so it's probably one of the 5 oldest MGBs on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I have pictures of that 64 MGB cut up into pieces in the back of my old Dodge Ram pickup. It did go to the junkyard and went away. But there's one of those instances that I wouldn't make significant value changes, but I bet you in the MGB world, it'd make a $3,000 to $6,000 value difference on it, from being, say, VIN number 117 or to VIN number 3,283, So it goes to an interesting podcast I listened to with Seinfeld and paying attention to numbers and how he's the number guy.
Yeah. So here's my question: when the 64 went to the junkyard, wherever you took it, did the shop you were working for or you yourself destroy the VIN?
No, the car just went, and believe me, it did not go away, but the VIN did not leave. The car was put into the pile to go to the crusher or shredder almost immediately.
Okay, just curious.
Oh, did you want me to go out to the warehouse and get you the VIN plate?
No. I just, because many a moon ago, when we had a parts car for the 74 Pontiac GTO, we had another 74 GTO, but it was a trunk back instead of a hatchback, but we were using all parts out of the front end and interior, but it was gone. I mean, it was in bad shape. We were just saving a few of the parts that we really needed. We got the car for free, basically. And, but my dad, being who he is and the way we believe in doing things, we made sure we knew the car was scrap. I mean, we were using the parts off of it. We cut the car up. We cut it up quite far. But in the process of cutting it up, we ensured that all of the cuts damaged all of the chassis stampings. Anywhere there was a number, including the VIN, we were sure to destroy. That way no one could strip it off the car and use it on a different car. That way it was, we knew that it was gone and someone else wasn't going to fake a car with the VIN number. So
now Toby pops up here with 60s Mustangs. The short story is the serial number is on the inner fender, and then there's actually another tag on the door. Mm-hmm. And you can change the front clip and not the door, and then have mismatching VINs. Change the doors and not the front clip and have mismatching VINs. Change the front clip and the doors and still have mismatching VINs. What's right? What's correct? And personally, in my family, this situation exists because we have the 76 Mustang ever built. Now, it's not running, it's not driving. It's probably, if you leaned on the car, you'd fall through it. It's so rusted out. But we have the VIN numbers. Those VIN numbers, I guarantee you, are worth money to somebody. So I can't tell you where the car is. I think my dad's the only one who knows where the car is. But there's a long story with that. But there's another example of, I'm going to send this car to Arizona and have it restored. It's legal for them to take the VIN numbers off while they're doing the restoration. I've been involved with the restoration of a car that the only piece of the car that came in with the car, that left with the car, was the cowl. The floors were replaced. The rear fenders were replaced. The front fenders were replaced. The frame was replaced. The cowl is the only thing that moved over. I mean, so it's definitely, Derek says it's a scary thing. Toby's saying how slippery it is. And it really goes down to, the states. And then you get into the states.
Well, but before we go there, I want to jump in because, we're talking a lot about just a VIN number moving, from one parts car to a different car, being restored, so on and so forth. I think the bigger problem that we have to understand is that not only that, but it opens the door to,
No pun intended.
oh, nice one. Oh, well, I've got well, let's go back to the Chevelle example you used. I've got a 68 base model Chevelle, or a 68. Well, I saw an article just the other day about a 68 heavy Chevelle that's on eBay right now. Completely rusted out Hulk, no engine. I mean, this thing is junk, right? But guess what? It's got VIN numbers, it's got other things that are important. So somebody's got a 68 Chevelle Malibu, base Malibu, whatever, 6-cylinder car. Run on eBay, grab this heavy Chevy, which is the in between, right? Between the base model, and they brought it out to basically give people options, base model, and there was the SS. But of course, to appease people, they had this heavy Chevy version. I don't know if you remember that, John. Yeah. The person with the base model car goes out, grabs this heavy Chevy, gets the VINs off of it, takes those VINs, swaps them out for their VIN on their Chevelle. Now they have the heavy Chevy, and they can put whatever Chevy engine was appropriate at the time into that heavy Chevy, which you had your option of engines at that point, other than whatever was being used at that time in the SS. That was reserved for the SS. 68 would have been, was it 396 or the 454 that was reserved for SS that year?
I think it was
I don't remember right now. I think
396s. I don't think the 454s until the 70s, but I could.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, they could go out and put, if their car had a, base 6-cylinder in it, or the little V8. I don't remember every engine that came in the Chevelle at 68, but they could move it up to a 350 block or whatever they want, a little higher performance. Well, guess what? My VIN says it's a heavy Chevy. It could have that engine in it, but yet the real car was a base model. That's where I'm also scared, because now we're getting fake cars because you're taking a VIN. I mean, it's just, I don't like it. That's just my take. And maybe I'm too much of a purist or too much of a honest guy, but I don't know.
I think you have valid points. Unfortunately, we're dealing with lots of commas in a lot of these cars.
I tell you what, I'm gonna have a really cheap 71 Hemi Cuda convertible when I can find the right VIN number. I'll tell you that right now. Of course, now that I said that, if I hit the Mega Millions, this week, and I can actually afford a 71 Hemi Cuda convertible, everybody's going to question it.
Yeah. Well, you see, I've got this Corvette alternator laying around here. I'm just trying to find the VIN numbers to go with it, so I can make a numbers matching Corvette.
So ZR1, right? Is the C3 ZR1, or is it ZR2 alternator?
No, it's a C3 ZR1 big tank convertible alternator. You didn't even know the car existed.
That's a special one right there.
I'm going to take 3 different VIN tags and combine them.
You've heard of one of one. This is one of none.
So now we're talking about selling our cars. So you've went ahead and you've got your VIN number, and we can put it here.
You got your
Take
fake
VIN number, and you put it on your E30 M BMW. And then you go to sell it, and you put, I have a BMW E30. And it's got PW, PS,
PL.
Yeah. Yep, PL. AM, FM,
PB.
AM,
ABS.
CD. Yep. Some of the acronyms for the options people understand.
Very few anymore. Very few.
if you now saying an E30 BMW, people buying E30 BMWs, there's a lot of them. But I don't, what's an E32? I can't tell you what an E32 is. I don't know if that, an E30 is roughly the late 80s BMW. An E32, I don't know if it's the next generation. I don't know if it's a 2000. Tell me what the freaking model year of the car is. You have a 5 Series BMW. Tell me it's a 535i or 550. Don't tell me it's a BMW E46, with a 5.5 liter, V8. I don't know if I'm buying, and I don't know if I'm buying a 550. I don't know if I'm buying a 535. I don't know if I'm buying a 95, a 2003, a 1982. Why do car people do this? Yeah, it's really cool to talk among your buddies that you've got an NA Miata or a FD RX-7, but it's always, I have a Mazda NA, or I have a NC, or an FD Mazda. What did I just talk about there? Unless you are a RX-7 collector, you don't know what an FD is. Hell, I don't even know what the other designations of a RX-7 are. I assume they're probably an FC and an FB, maybe. I don't know. I see these ads all the time.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Not that I shouldn't say I hate it. I just think some of it's just unnecessary. Why do you have to list it in the ad? Number one, if somebody's interested in the car, they're probably going to reach out and say, what options does it have? Is it the fully loaded model? Is it a base model? Does it have this? Does it have that? Maybe these ads are being written this way by these people to ensure that only another collector will buy the car that's going to understand the lingo and stuff. But again, I see it. The problem is I see it in the local, free auto traders. You open one of those up and somebody's got an ad in there and they're like, I got a 1997 GMC Sierra, PWPL, PS, ABS, AC, BG Day FQPRLT. What? Like, you're selling a used car.
4WD with LSD and a 5-speed?
FWD. AWD. Part-time AWD.
Yeah, most people don't know. There is no such thing as part-time AWD. There's part-time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, the acronyms, it drives me nuts on the mini boards. Got an R52 mini, got an R56 mini, got an R60 mini, got an F60 mini. I drive an F56 mini. What? And it took me a year to figure out I drive an F56 mini.
Did you ever find a FU mini?
Not yet. But you get on there and you say, well, I've got this or this is for sale, or I've got these pieces from, and half the people on there are going to have to go look it up. Tell me you've got an exhaust system for an 04 to an 08, Mini Cooper S. That works for me. Or tell me you've got it for, a first generation Countryman. That even helps narrow it down. And we're not dealing with, like I said, R60s and F60s and, Q7s. And that absolutely frustrates me. I'm talking to car people here primarily. We are a car podcast. Will somebody tell me why you do it? Is Derek right? You just don't want your FD Mazda to go to a non-fan, which when I'm selling it, I don't give a damn who buys it. It's all money in the end.
I was going to say, if you're selling the car, you should be, well, okay, maybe I shouldn't say that, but
Okay, if I'm selling a Ferrari 62 250 Ferrari GTO, I might care who the next owner is, might care where the money comes from, but
As long as it's clean money that's not going to get taken away from you, do you really care?
exactly.
But I say that, but then I'm also the person that deep down at heart, if I was to sell one of my cars, I'd probably, well, with some of the cars, not all the cars, but a few of the cars, I'd probably want to make sure I'm putting it into a set of hands that's going to love it and care for it and all that. But again, if as you're saying, John, there's probably a big difference between selling a Ferrari, 250 GTO, and your 97 GMC Sierra, and how you're going to list that, and how much you're really going to care who that 97 GMC Sierra goes to, and whether or not they understand what PWPL, PS, ABS, AC, EFI, everything else really means.
Well, I always wanted one of those. What is it? About an 04, 05 GMC with the RWS on it. So, but they were always impossible to find because no dealer would ever list them with RWS. So, of course, I always was interested in the Prelude with 4WS, and that's a subscription. I think Mercedes is doing it on some of their cars that you can a monthly fee and you can have RWS on the cars, or it will be active. So
it's interesting.
So
that'll be an interesting one to talk about on the subscription show.
Yeah, I'll have to look that one up. I just heard about that one a day or two ago. So they're coming to get you.
And this, let me just remind everyone that this is a great reason and an important reason that you all listen to NDG so often.
Yes. Long pause. I was probably up for my bitch of the week, and I just don't know which one to choose from.
I thought you were just trying to figure out what NDG stood for.
No, I put a list on my Amazon Alexa stuff and put NDG, but then I realized when I was going to do an NDG comment, I always told it no driving gloves, and it always got confused. Oh. Maybe we should come out in our newsletter, Derek, with a handy little guide to what all those common abbreviations that can be used across the board stand for.
We have a newsletter?
We should.
Oh, okay. So really the conversation is we should start a newsletter. Well, the first issue should.
If you would have went with it, maybe we would have some people emailing us going, hey, you have a newsletter? And we would have had subscribers. See, Derek misses stuff. But
hey, you know what? It's the live. It's the live video feed. You can cut that out of the audio when you edit.
I can.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's already out there video, why take it out of the audio? Okay, you're driving through a parking lot or city streets, and somebody just decides to stop. And then they put their flashers on. Where this happened to me that irritated me is I'm driving through a complex and the person in front of me just flat stopped. And of course, I came to a stop behind them. And after a moment or two, I guess they realized what they did. And then they turned their flashers on as they sat there to wait for somebody. Immediately to the left of them is another lane of traffic, small parking lot, not very busy. Immediately to the left of that, or adjacent to that, is about 60 empty parking spots. Is it too damn hard to pull into a parking spot. You could have even pulled in parallel without anybody notice. But no, you stopped in front of me. You put your blinker or flashers on. I go to go around you as somebody's coming the other way at dusk with no headlights. Because you were too lazy to pull into a parking spot, you about crashed your car, my car, and somebody else's car.
Oh, wait, can we complain about the guy that people that don't have their headlights on at dusk as well? Seeing you threw that in there. Can we get that one stuck in too this week?
Well, we probably could, but that gets into the people who don't turn their headlights on when it's raining. People that, I have daytime running lamps, my headlights are on, but they forget their taillights aren't. And, I'm actually one of those that go, come on. I know my headlights should be coming on because I don't want to turn the switch and screw up the programming,
Yeah, you got it set on auto and you're just like, come on, baby.
I don't really want to reach down and move that knob over one because I know it's going to take me 8 days to remember to move it back to auto. So,
you know what really doesn't make sense though? We've done daytime running lights. Why in the world do we not just make it all the way around? Just have running lights, front and rear, daytime. Come on.
Because you do realize daytime running lights run at a lower percentage of energy and it's slightly dimmer than normal headlights. So can you do that with your taillights? And do we really want to encourage people to burn out their taillights any quicker than they do? Because that, believe me, will be coming up in my bitch of the week is people that have a left taillight with 2 or 3 bulbs in it, a third brake light with 2 or 3 bulbs in it, and a right taillight with 2 or 3 bulbs in it. And they have 1 bulb working in the left taillight. You've let 10 other bulbs burn out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, going to all this LED stuff, it's a little bit different story and a hell of a lot more expensive to fix. But
I mean, really, John, if you're going to tear the taillights apart to fix the bulbs, you might as well just wait till they're all out and replace them all at once.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's all they're doing. They're just waiting for everything to be out. It just easier job. Just take everything out, put everything in new, put it back together. That way you don't have to pull it out. 1 bulb, 2 weeks later, another, but you got to pull it out again. Just wait for it all to go out.
An interesting bit of trivia. I live in Alabama, as most of the listeners know. Alabama 2022 law only requires 1 operating taillight. My question is, why can't I go into the Ford dealership and only buy a car with 1 taillight? I don't want to pay for all that other bullshit. I don't want to pay for the other taillight. I don't want to pay for that brake light. I just want what the law says I have to have. You're forcing me to buy all this needless stuff. Maybe you shouldn't turn it on and I should pay a subscription for how many taillights I want to order.
Ooh, I like that.
So, well, you got a whole bunch of bitches out of me in the beginning and the end.
Does it charge per blink?
It could.
Is it like 1 cent per blink on the turn signal?
Well, that was a joke that somebody was talking about with, keyless entry. Toyota's talking about charging for that. So are they going to charge per entry? You can subscribe to unlimited entries to your car per month, or I want 40 entries per month. I want 20 entries per month. Can you have different levels of the subscription depending on how often you actually want to use the remote?
Yeah. Oh, I'd see that. Hey, sweetheart, could you open up the car? Ooh, sorry. I've only got like 3 entries left. I'm not going to be able to do that.
Here's the metal key. You need to walk out and manually unlock
it. Yeah. Why don't you use the key.
Well, there's a whole bunch of happy-go-lucky things we talked about, and I'll just throw into the headlight conversation. It's a law in damn near every state, possibly every state. Why can't we make it that when the windshield wipers come on, the headlights come on? The whole headlight gambit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very simple thing. I mean, you could charge probably $1 a month for that feature.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at all the money we are generating for the automotive industry right now.
Speaking of generating money, NoDrivingGloves.com. Buy us a coffee there if we entertained you through the show, kept you occupied and provided value to you for an hour and 5 minutes. Or once I run this through the editing software for 47 minutes. And we are, I'm going to be out of here. NoDrivingGloves.com. Buy us a coffee. Links to everything on the webpage. Subscribe, like, follow, do whatever the heck you need to do. And we'll talk to you next Thursday, maybe about vehicle subscriptions. Maybe. Just maybe.
Yeah. What he said. And I'm out of here.
No, you're not out of here yet. I'm still looking for the exit. We'll do this and see. Hopefully there's not music attached.
It's in the same place every week.